Welcome to episode 5 in our series, Finance and the Church. I'm Erin Bender, a ministry consultant for Sacred Stones Ministry, and this is Ordained Clergy Compensation. In today's session regarding ordained clergy compensation, our goals include understanding the scope of employee compensation within a congregation, being able to articulate the IRS designations of clergy membership and employment status, and finally, developing a working familiarity with the considerations involved in creating a comprehensive clergy support package. Ordained clergy in the United Methodist Church is a term that refers to the body of persons who have completed a bachelor's degree, attended and graduated from a 2 to 3 year master's program focused on professional ordained ministry, and have engaged in a minimum of a 5 years ordination process. In the United Methodist Church, there are 2 equitable orders of ordained clergy, the elder and the deacon. The elder is a clergy person who ministers with the people of a local church as spiritual leader, worship leader, and administrator. The deacon is ordained to preach, teach, lead mission through compassion, to take the church into the world. Both orders are equally valuable, but with a different focus on their callings. We also have lay ministers who are called licensed local pastors. Their ministry is to provide leadership in one parish only. Their compensation is similarly regulated as ordained clergy. There are also professional lay ministers. Compensation for these employees is typically based on an hourly wage. However, clergy are different in that there are several categories of monies that go into the clergy compensation package. Clergy are appointed by the bishop to a particular church. Clergy are not members of that church, but rather members of the United Methodist Conference to which they belong. Still, it is the local parish's responsibility to financially compensate the clergy person. Their paychecks are calculated a bit differently than a lay employee of the church. For instance, an office manager is typically paid an hourly rate, and that amount is taxed according to the law. Clergy compensation is also taxed, but differently, because clergy are self-employed. So taxes and other contribution fall into other categories. Let's more clearly define clergy compensation. It is that portion of a total clergy support package, which would be considered as compensating a pastor for pastoral service. Each United Methodist Conference has a minimum cash compensation to begin formulating the package for the clergy. But additional funds might include contributions to both tax paid and tax deferred retirement plans, payments to cover or assist the pastor with the personal share of Social Security taxes, and a variety of other benefits and allowances, such as utilities and other housing-related allowances. If a parsonage is available for the clergy's use, then there's generally no housing allowance granted. If there is no parsonage, the amount that the clergy uses for housing is part of the cash allowance to the clergy. That amount is not reported as income. An accountable plan is a document that captures the likely unreimbursed costs of the clergy for which that person spends for the ministry of the church. Things like car expenses, cell phone, and continuing education. This is also a negotiated document. It's important to note at this time that the responsibility of the treasurer in this process is to make sure all the checks are written. It's not the responsibility of the treasurer to formulate the compensation package. That is up to the Staff Parish Relations Committee and the Administrative Council. The treasurer's voice is valuable in keeping the council up to date on finances in the church and to be part of the conversation. But the final decision is not the treasurer's. Every year, at all church conferences, the pastor's compensation package must be approved. The Staff Parish Relations Committee is the one that presents it to the conference. For full-time and half-time clergy, the cost of health insurance is mandatory as part of the package. Also, the clergy retirement security program and life insurance fees must be included in the same package. The amounts that are agreed upon by the church and the clergy are important for the treasurer to know so that the treasurer can send the appropriate funds to the appropriate entities at the appropriate time. Clergy are considered self-employed, so federal and state taxes are not paid by the church. In order to give these matters appropriate consideration, many SPR committees begin the process of consultation with the pastor and staff in August or September. The Staff Parish Relations Committee recommends to the Church Council and reports to the Finance Committee. The Church Council may make the final decision on compensation for all staff members except the pastor. Upon receiving the recommendations of the Church Council, the Church Conference makes the final decision regarding the pastor's compensation package. All pastors under appointment to United Methodist Church at 75% or more are eligible to participate in the Clergy Retirement Security Program, the CRSP pension. The eligible clergy person will be enrolled unless a waiver of participation, notarized and filed on the prescribed form, is received in the benefits office. All pastors under appointment to the United Methodist Church at 50% are eligible to participate in the United Methodist Personal Investment Plan, UMPIP, with the church or churches making contributions at 9% of pension-based compensation for the current year. Clergy may decline this benefit by completing a waiver of participation. Long-term disability and death benefits are provided for enrolled clergy through the Comprehensive Protection Plan, CPP. All full-time clergy and elders, associate, or provisional members serving 75% appointed to United Methodist Church have mandatory coverage. Churches will be billed at the rate of 3% of pension-based compensation for these mandatory enrollments. All full-time clergy appointed to a local United Methodist Church are eligible for health benefits and are eligible to enroll in the conference-sponsored health insurance plan. Regardless of enrollment, all charges that have a full-time pastor will pay the blended rate premium into the health insurance program. For 2022, this figure was $14,000. The premium may be split between churches served by the full-time pastor when the appropriate information is provided to the benefits office. Each annual conference has their unique manner of compiling this information in a form which is signed by all those involved. While the intricacies of paying the ordained staff of a United Methodist Church are complex, they're not complicated. A treasurer is a key person to have an understanding of the steps needed to create and verify a pastoral compensation package. This, in turn, serves the mission of your local church. Let's review what we've just learned about ordained clergy compensation. Answer the following questions in a group or on your own. First, what makes up the pastor's compensation? Who decides the compensation package for the clergy in the local church? How does SPR decide what to pay the clergy? What is a housing allowance? What is an accountable plan? Tax-wise, in terms of the government, who employs the clergy? And finally, how do you show your clergy person how valuable they are to your congregation? Thank you for joining me for Session 5 of Finance in the Church, Ordained Clergy Compensation. I'll look to see you next time for Session 6.